A group of Fort Scott High School students and parents spent part of their morning protesting at the Board of Education. You'll learn why coming up.
Plus, the East Newton Board of Education meets to discuss its mask rules. And U.S. health officials have recommended third doses of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, but what about Johnson & Johnson boosters?
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Students and parents unhappy with the Fort Scott School District's decision to require masks in schools made their voices heard today with a protest at the school board's office. This is KOAM News at 10. KOAM's Mike Mahoney was in Fort Scott learning why some students and parents object to the mask mandate.
Due to the ongoing pandemic, USD 234 in Fort Scott is requiring students and staff to wear masks inside the classroom and on school vehicles. But that decision isn't sitting right with some Fort Scott High School students and their parents.
Kids become antisocial with masks on, and I just moved here from Kansas City, and this is my first year at Fort Scott, and I can't imagine going into a school with a mask on, having to be quiet all the time, having to speak louder. Not being able to express my emotions through my face.
Some students and parents spent part of their Thursday morning protesting the mask mandate in front of the school board office. One parent tells KOAM that just because he opposes masks in school doesn't mean he's not taking the pandemic seriously.
It's my responsibility to take care of my children and to make sure that they take all the necessary precautions, medical precautions, every other kind of precaution there is. It's my responsibility as a parent. It's definitely not, and this was the insinuation at the school board meeting, it's definitely not a teacher's responsibility to say that they know more or to act as if parents are ignorant because they don't want their child to wear a mask.
The students believe that there would have been more protesters, but say many high schoolers were pressured not to attend.
Coaches, teachers were telling their students that if they were going to join the protests, they could be removed from things. They could not play in sports.
I reached out to the USD 234 superintendent, but he was unavailable. According to the school district's website, the school board will reevaluate the mask mandate at each monthly school board meeting. In Fort Scott, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Now, USD 234 details many of its procedures relating to the coronavirus in its 2021-2022 operations guidelines. We've included a link to that in this article on KOAMnewsnow.com. The East Newton Board of Education tonight decided it will not require masks this school year. However, masks will be required on school buses. The school superintendent says the plan isn't entirely set in stone.
And we'll make sure that we're monitoring students as they come in like we had in the past. And if we have a spike or we have anything that happens to increase our numbers, we'll reassess and make different decisions if that's necessary.
The superintendent says they will also not require vaccinations. White House officials announced their plan to offer booster shots to fully vaccinated Americans who got the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, citing new evidence of waning vaccine protection against symptomatic infection over time. But where does that leave the Johnson & Johnson vaccine when it comes to boosters? Mandy Gaither has the latest on that.
In the U.S., there are 3 COVID-19 vaccines with emergency use authorization. For 2 of them, the ones made by Pfizer and Moderna, top U.S. health officials now say a booster is needed for adequate protection.
If you are fully vaccinated, you still have a high degree of protection from the worst outcomes of COVID-19, severe disease, hospitalization, and death.
For the 2 mRNA vaccines, 3 recent studies found waning protection over time against symptomatic infection, prompting officials to put a booster plan in motion beginning September 20th for those adults who got their second dose of vaccine 8 months ago, all pending the green light from the FDA and CDC. But what about those who received the Johnson & Johnson 1-dose vaccine? They too will likely need a booster.
The J&J vaccine was not administered in the U.S. until March of 2021, and we expect more data on J&J in the coming weeks.
When that data comes in, U.S. health officials say they'll keep Americans up to date on a timely plan for booster shots for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine as well.
This remains a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Meanwhile, the push to get shots in arms continues. In the past 2 weeks, a fifth of all new U.S. vaccinations have been among adolescents, which parallels a climb in COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations driven by the Delta variant. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says a third dose of vaccine may boost antibodies, which protect against COVID-19 infection tenfold. He says higher levels of antibodies may be required to protect against the Delta variant. Checking in with Nick Kelly once again. Some of us got rain today, Nick.
Yeah, for those that did, Dal, they saw probably a good moderate to heavy downpours at times, trying to keep temperatures away from the pure summer heat. But for Joplin, even with a little bit of rain, we were almost 90 degrees for a high today, 89 officially at the airport after we started at 71 this morning. We've seen quite a decrease in our coverage of rain and storms on the radar ever since the evening got underway, but still tracking a few showers south and east of Altamont, one dying shower northwest of Columbus, and that's pretty much about it for now. Everyone else is sitting quiet under mainly partly cloudy skies as we go deeper into the night. Upper 70s to near 80s still at the top of the 10 o'clock hour, but eventually I do expect temperatures to drop back to 73 with some scattered storms possible as early as sunrise as we get the morning drive underway. A little break by lunchtime, Dow, before we see highs back near 90 with a few isolated storms in the afternoon. We'll see how the rest of the weekend is shaping up here in just a bit.
All right, catch you then. Wrecks on Interstate 44 near Joplin forced police to shut down a westbound portion of the interstate. Police say there were 3 crashes near the Joplin Main Street exit as a storm moved through that area late this afternoon. One wreck involved a semi-truck, an SUV, and 2 other vehicles. Police shut down a portion of the interstate from the Main Street exit to the Range Line exit. It has since reopened. At last report, there were no fatalities from these wrecks. A legal ruling bans a Southeast Kansas man and his contracting company from doing business in the state and orders him to pay a penalty and restitution. The Attorney General had filed a lawsuit against Don Diebold of Iola, doing business as Diebold LLC. The AG accused Diebold of violating the Kansas Consumer Protection Act, failing to provide goods to consumers after being paid, and making transactions that were excessively one-sided in his favor. When Diebold failed to respond, an Allen County District Court judge ordered him to pay 2 consumers a total of more than $18,000 in restitution and to pay $40,000 in civil penalties, in addition to the cost of the Attorney General's investigation. Diebold tells us he believes he is not banned from doing business in the state. After 35 years working for the city of Joplin, Assistant City Manager Dan Pekarik is retiring. City Manager Nick Edwards made the announcement today. Pekarik served as the city's public health director for 23 years, was the interim city manager, and was named Assistant City Manager last June. Edwards said, quote, "We thank Dan for his many years of service here at the city and his commitment to our organization and community." Pekarik's retirement is effective on October 4th. Still ahead, the latest on a bomb threat in our nation's capital that led to a standoff with police. And deadly flooding in North Carolina, authorities searching for survivors after the severe storms. U.S. Capitol Police have cleared the scene near the Library of Congress after authorities responded to an active bomb threat that threw part of the nation's capital into lockdown. The suspect surrendered after several hours, and now the search for a motive is underway. Deborah Alfarone reports from Capitol Hill.
Authorities say the suspect drove a pickup truck onto the sidewalk outside the Library of Congress, telling an officer he had a bomb inside the vehicle. Identified by law enforcement as 49-year-old Floyd Ray Roseberry of North Carolina, they say he claimed to have a propane gas container in the back of the truck.
The driver of the truck told the responding officer on the scene that he had a bomb and what the officer said appeared to be a detonator in the man's hand.
He said the detonator would trigger the gas container if police, including snipers posted around the perimeter, shot him.
The revolution's on.
Roseberry live streamed the standoff on Facebook, asking to speak to the president.
I don't want to die, Joe.
And ranting about the end of the war in Afghanistan.
Just like the people in Afghanistan want to go home.
The suspect surrendered when police were trying to deliver a cell phone to him.
The tactical units that were close by took him into custody without incident.
Later, the truck was towed from the scene. Capitol Police say no bomb was found, but possible bomb-making materials were collected from the vehicle.
For 5 hours while police negotiated, these streets were blocked off and D.C. staffers were asked to evacuate their offices or shelter in place.
Congress is in recess this week but remains on alert. The incident comes 8 months after thousands of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol and ahead of a D.C. rally planned for next month. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Law enforcement officials spoke with the suspect's wife in connection with today's incident. They say he recently lost his mother and was dealing with other issues. At least 2 people are dead. Around 20 people are unaccounted for after severe storms flooded the Canton, North Carolina area. Hundreds of people surged home to home along the Pigeon River, where hundreds of families are displaced. Some are housed in emergency shelters. Officials say roads and bridges are significantly damaged. Tens of thousands of people are under evacuation orders in Northern California while wildfires rage out of control. The Caldor fire, which has incinerated more than 100 square miles in the area southwest of Lake Tahoe. The largest fire, the Dixie Fire, it's been burning for a month and is just 35% contained. This year's California fires are on pace to exceed last year's, which were already the worst in modern history. Later, the Parsons Vikings are entering their second year with their new head coach. We're going to hear how he plans to build on last season coming up in sports.
Plus, our next front out west wants to bring some rain chances still to the forecast, but can it describe out some of the heat? We'll break down the answer next. Whether you stayed dry or whether you saw some more scattered rain and thunderstorms throughout the day, it was pretty warm across the entire region. In fact, a few spots flirted with hot territories where we're trying to push near 90 in a couple of spots for sure. But indigo sky, you started out dry outside of Seneca, Missouri. Then you had a couple of showers, maybe a couple of thunderstorms scored on through during the day. But the rest of the time lapse looked good right up until sunset not too long ago. We did have a few scattered showers, a couple of storms too in our far western counties to start the morning out before a little break around lunchtime, and then wait for it as we warmed up the heat and humidity. We did see some more scattered storms lift from south to north this afternoon. Again, it was just the same story for yet another day where some spots saw hardly a drop of rain, but on the average across the entire area, 1/10 of an inch. Needless to say, if you got caught underneath any good downpours, 1/2 an inch to almost 2 inches of rain just from today alone. And while we did start out with some scattered storms across the parts of the area, at least this evening, we've really backed things down quite a bit to maybe a few showers southeast of Altamont and just to the south of McCune. There was one weak shower trying to come at Joplin from the Osho along 49 or Gateway Drive, but that fizzled out before it could cross 30 seconds. So Joplin, you're still looking okay right now, but mostly cloudy up top. 81 degrees, feels like 86 though, with the dew point sitting at a muggy 73 degrees. Most of us are still in the upper 70s to near 80 right now, but I do anticipate lows dropping back to 73 before we try to see more rain chances work in tomorrow. But there has been a change in the setup, even though it doesn't look like much has changed with the wider view of the Skywatch Storm Tracker. This frontal system out across the northern plains, prompting severe weather out in Nebraska, sure, but the severe weather from that front won't make it here. But this is the front that's going to keep some rain chances in the forecast for this weekend. Overall, though, even though this upper low will push the front in, it won't sweep through because this upper level ridge starting to build across the Gulf of Mexico, that's what's really going to kick the heat and humidity back into high gear, especially for next week. So we'll keep an eye on the few showers that are still out there for the next few hours. Then I anticipate a little bit of a lull during the overnight, but by morning, I would not be surprised if we have some isolated scattered storms during the morning hours. break around lunchtime, and then maybe a couple of isolated storms in the afternoon. Still, it's going to be quite warm, if not a bit hot, for across the region. 73 in the morning, 85 by noon, afternoon highs topping out around 90 degrees. This time around, though, I think we're quiet to start Friday evening out, but note the future tracks showing this band of thunderstorms developing. That is ahead of the front that, again, doesn't quite make it through, but it sits close enough to the region that will deal with those thunderstorm chances late Friday night into Saturday morning, and again, another shot for scattered storms Saturday afternoon. We'll try to have that front fire off some scattered storms Sunday morning, then we're dry for Sunday and much of next week. And note the position of this upper level ridge, almost right on top of the region. And that is definitely going to set the stage for a hot and kind of humid week ahead of us. 90 tomorrow, 92 Saturday, 93 on Sunday. There will be dry time throughout the weekend, Al, but as we say, mainly dry for much of next week. The heat and humidity will definitely kick back into high gear. Mid-90s for highs and mid-70s for some warm nights ahead.
Yeah, we knew it would come eventually. We were hoping otherwise, but that's August in the 4th stage.
It sure is.
Thanks, Nick. The Wyandotte Nation is helping the Ottawa County Sheriff's Department get where it needs to go. The tribe today donated $60,000. The Sheriff's Office will put toward the purchase of a new patrol SUV so it can handle all the terrain deputies encounter in the 4 states. Tribe officials say they used income from gaming, convenience stores, and other economic development projects for that donation. A donation in Seneca will make sure students are prepared for the school year. Alorica, Joplin Call Center, donated 75 backpacks full of school supplies to Seneca Bright Futures. The contents of the backpacks varied to meet the needs of students at various grade levels. Coming up in sports, the Labette County Grizzlies turn to a sophomore quarterback this fall. We're going to hear from the head coach, Sean Price. Plus, the Parsons Vikings aim to improve in year 2 under Jeff Scheibe. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
The Parsons Vikings are in the middle of their first week of fall football practice. The Vikings are heading into their second season under head coach Jeff Scheibe. Danny Terzer has more on how Scheibe and the team plan on improving in year 2 this fall.
The Parsons Vikings went to work this off-season.
The kids put in a substantial amount of time in the weight room. I was able to have strength and conditioning class with those kids, and I think that out of everything, that is absolutely the biggest opportunity going into year number 2 is having time with the kids.
The Vikings returned 10 seniors.
I love the brotherhood to this class. We're all really close. We all love this sport.
This senior class is not a very big senior class, but there's a lot of quality.
They've stepped up as leaders and are making a big difference.
It's very important in a program to have your juniors and seniors guide those young kids. If your best players can buy into what the coaches are trying to do, then that rubs off on those younger kids. They see Deion Sylvester, they see Isaiah Tyson, Steven Napper. Those kids, Zach Cowan, with 100% weight room attendance, it makes them want to work harder. And that's what we're trying to establish here.
For me, myself, I just don't have a problem with stepping on people's toes. I'm okay with saying stuff when I don't want to. I speak up when things need to be said. So I think that's really why I'm a leader.
The hard work seems to be paying off.
The first 3 practices have been some of the best practices we've had since, I've been here.
The Vikings remain focused on a single goal.
Nothing else matters other than week 1, September 3rd against Anderson County.
In Parsons, Danny Terzer, KOAM Sports.
The Vikings' first game of the season, as Coach mentioned, will be on September 3rd. It's a home game against Anderson County. Well, staying in southeast Kansas, the Labette County Grizzlies aim to climb in the SEK this fall. Now, last season, Labette County finished 2-7 overall. Their 3rd straight sub-500 finish. This group lost a big senior class, so there will be plenty of new faces making plays for the Grizzlies this fall. Now they do return a couple of first-team All-SEK guys in lineman Mitchell House and defensive back Andon Searles. Now, one point of emphasis this season for Labette County will be expanding the passing game a little bit, something they haven't been able to do for a few years.
We've had a quarterback hurt for 2 straight years. We've been snake bit a little bit. We got Kendall Holtzman. He's a sophomore, big kid, 6 foot tall, about 200 pounds. He can throw the ball. And that's what we need in our offense. We want to run the ball. Everybody wants to run the ball, but we're not good enough to sit there and just run the ball every down. We need to throw the ball, and I think we got some good receivers for him to throw to, but he's looked really good so far.
Labette County has a home game to start the season, hosting the Pittsburgh Purple Dragons on September 3rd. The Kansas City Royals have been hot this week. After getting swept by the Cardinals last weekend, the Royals have taken 3 in a row against the first-place Houston Astros. Kansas City goes for the 4-game sweep this afternoon against Houston. That's Nicky Lopez, 2-run homer, his first of the season. Royals up 3-0 in the 6th, though. Houston comes alive. Aledmus Diaz lines a double off Mike Minor. Houston would tie it at 3 to send it to extras. Then in the 10th, Astros finish it quickly. Diaz again, RBI single. Houston gets 3 in the top of the 10th inning. The Royals fall today in the finale 6-3. In the National League, big one for the St. Louis Cardinals this evening. They try to avoid the sweep against the Milwaukee Brewers. St. Louis gets 5 in the 5th this evening. They do go on to win at 8-4. That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Take time now to honor a local veteran, Russell Spillman. The Blue Mound, Kansas native served in the U.S. Navy. And we are proud to salute Russell Spillman. He's tonight's 4-state hero. You can learn about lots of other heroes anytime. You can also submit a hero of your own anytime you like. It's very simple to do. Just go to our website. You know what that is. It's KOAMnewsnow.com. Some of us got some rain today, some yesterday, some the day before. That trend is going to continue a bit longer.
Yeah, at least for the parts of the weekend. There will be some dry time, but the dry time we get is going to send highs back near 90 tomorrow, 92 Saturday, 93 Sunday, and then looking dry for much of next week, but hot and humid, mid-90s, lining up.
Here they come again. It's nice to enjoy this spell in the 80s while it lasted.
Indeed.
Final sports note.
Tomorrow night is Jamboree night for Missouri High School football. Be sure, before you go out and see your local teams, check out our Pigskin preview, KOAMnewsnow.com/pigskin. I think we have 62 total teams in there, so go check it out.
And we got a lot of people checking it out, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
It's all digital. It's worth checking out for sure. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget our morning show, and let's make it a great tomorrow.